will you do a quick intro in case anyone who's watching this is new to you and your work? And then we'll together dive into today's topic about what to do if your crush is just not stepping up. And hello, everyone hopping on. Comment below where you're from.
Yay.
Please, where you are in the world.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Chelsea Rose. I'm a feminine energy love and success coach for women. And I am all about supporting women and turning on their magnetism, because I really believe that all of you are actually naturally a magnet for your heart's desires. And it's just our stories, our limiting beliefs, our past wounding that blocks it and makes it feel difficult. So I love sharing, tips and tools and practices to support you guys in really enjoying the dating process and having that process feel like fun and feel easy, where you're attracting the kind of men that you really, really want. And you actually can attract the kind of love that you want, the kind of relationship you want. Nala's like freaking out over here. I don't know if you can hear the background. Like, Nala, will you stop, please? Thank you. Stop it.
Like, this is distracting. Nala,
shut up. Do get distracted. Yeah, so that's my little intro. So I'm so happy to support you guys today.
Yeah, okay, cool. Perfect, amazing. So hello everyone hopping on. So I picked this topic about what to do if your crush is not showing up, if he's not taking action, because I get so many questions. And there's always, themes. And usually it's not in these exact words, it's somewhere along the lines of like, I went on a date with a guy, and then, it was great, but then he didn't ask me out again, or I've been dating him for 3 months and he's all of a sudden like not talking to me, he's kind of fizzling out. So this all goes along the lines of you will have interest in someone who is not being or showing up or responding to you in a way that you would like. So Chelsea and I are going to help you with that.
Yeah.
And I want to give it to you right away and hear what your thoughts are on this and how you would empower and support the woman who's kind of like, like it's kind of, maybe you feel frustrated, you feel sad, or you're confused, and you're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Like, I want to feel close, I want to feel connected, I want to play, right? Like, and I'm like in this weird space. So how would you, what would you say to her?
I just I can feel those emotions in my body because they're so familiar for me. So any of you guys going through that, number one, like, your feelings are so valid. And I think that's, for me, that's always the first step in like making a shift, is let's just own and validate the emotions coming up, and just noticing what it feels like in your body, noticing like, does it feel like sadness? Does it feel like frustration? And kind of stepping into emotional intelligence around this, taking responsibility for what's coming up is the first step. And to shift that, really the first thing that I always share with my ladies is bring your focus back to you, right? Bring your focus back. When we're feeling that frustration and we're kind of like wishing that he would reach out, we're reaching with our energy, with our thoughts, our emotions, our energy. So what I really love to share is bringing your focus back into your body, bringing your focus back into your joy, your well-being, your pleasure. And a really simple example of that is like creating some time for girl time. Like, talk to your girlfriends, go have fun, do something that's going to take your focus off of him, and onto like really being responsible for your own needs. Because ultimately, even when you are in a divine love relationship with your soulmate, like, he is not responsible for your happiness. I know Rebecca's like such a queen of this too. You so are. And because it's so easy, that being with the guy you want is going to amplify your joy. It's going to bring you so many things that you want to feel in your life, but it's a slippery slope there, right? Because we have to recognize that we are sovereign and we are independent of everyone, even when you are in this divine love marriage relationship, lifelong partnership. So just to keep a pulse on your own well-being, your own joy, your own pleasure, to take your focus off of the reaching energy and really self-sourcing how you want to feel is the first step. Like, that's the energy shift that has to happen before anything else can work.
Wow.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
100%. I'm like, just doing that once. I mean, I feel like anytime there's a issue, problem, challenge, breakdown, frustration in relationship, partnership, dating, whatever it is, of course there's like communication skills that we get to learn and embody and practice, and discomfort we get to lean into. And with what you just shared, it's like that one piece of really number one, taking ownership and just responsibility for what you're co-creating and how you're choosing to experience the day, experience each given moment is the most empowering thing can do in any scenario. So
Yeah.
I love that you're addressing it for this scenario, and I just want to empower everyone to take what Chelsea just shared with you. And anytime you're feeling off, or you're, you know, depressed maybe, or you're down, or you're just not, you're like you're feeling some sort of out of alignment, like remember that the feeling of alignment and the feeling of joy and all these things that are natural, you know, go with the state of harmony is your natural state. And in order to get there, it's to remember that you're actually that powerful.
Yes.
That you don't need anyone or anything, literally at all to create that. And it's not to say that unpleasant emotions aren't natural. I don't want to spread that message at all, because for a while I actually did. For a while I thought that.
It's easy to make,
healthy,
yeah,
right?
it's easy to make that. Yeah.
So I loved step number one, and thank you for sharing that. And hello, everyone who's hopping on. Feel free to comment and say hi.
We're so happy to have some women live with us. Yeah, and this can be confusing sometimes, and so I really love to say, like, yeah, true freedom, true happiness, the kind that's sustainable for life, is the kind that sources from within, right? Where you're not making your happiness conditional on what your guy is doing, on what's happening in your life. Not to say that you don't feel like notice that we started with, like, feel the feelings coming up. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to, because to go into like, oh, let's just focus on pleasure without acknowledging the like sadness or the grief or the trigger that's coming up is kind of self-defeating, because you're not actually going to be able to experience pleasure until you like wring yourself out and acknowledge and feel what's coming up. But then, yeah, just kind of completing that thought, know that the things you want in your life, the desires of your heart, like this kind of relationship you want, is going to amplify what you already are, what you already source, what you're already feeling. So see him as like the icing on top of the cake or the cherry on top, right? Rather than like the sole source. Yeah, so that's step one. The long
What's step two? I love it.
What do I have here on my notes? Yeah, step two is really just around stop thinking about him, like taking your focus. So you're bringing your attention into your joy, into your pleasure, but then you're also not allowing yourself to constantly think about him and like watching the clock and when is he going to text? Like, it's been this many hours since we last talked, you know? So those steps are kind of go hand in hand, is doing your best not to obsessively think about him and think about the relationship. Curious if you want to add to that.
Yeah. I think that it's the awareness, if you are doing that. So if you are, it's okay, but having that awareness, like Chelsea's talking about, and then interrupting it. So knowing that if it comes up, like, I can relate to this in the sense of going on Instagram, because sometimes I'm like, I'm addicted. Get off, right? And then I'm addiction. Like, well, at least I have the awareness. Let me just delete the app and notice and be kind to myself and just let it go, you know? So, you know, having the awareness around maybe depending on him or waiting or allowing him to dictate your emotional state is ultimately putting you in a disempowered space. So really actually calling your power back in this way. And you actually, I want to share something really quick. So I will never forget, I was in the mall. I was having a really hard time, and I called Chelsea. And I don't know if you remember this, you might. And it was actually with my dad. I was having a really challenging time with my dad and someone else. It might have even been Drew. I don't remember. And you just had me close my eyes. And it was so beautiful. You had me see this like white light. And you had me picture the people in my life. And you had me see them in love, and then literally call the white light and bring it back. Bring the energy back into my heart, and
like calling your energy back to you. Yes. Thank you for bringing this up. This is like even better than how I was trying to describe it. Oh, I'm so happy that I supported you with that. I'm like not surprised. I also don't remember exactly. But I know I do that a lot, and I often forget to give that advice. Like what we're doing when we're hyper focusing on a problem or a person, and we're reaching with our thoughts and we're reaching with our energy, is we're siphoning our power, really. right?
Yeah.
And so anything that, like any kind of visualization that can activate this for you guys can work, where you just imagine your power coming back to you. Like you imagine and so whether it's white light or some other color, I don't know.
Yeah.
Imagine bringing that back into your body and just feeling your attention being pointed inward versus pointed outward, you know, or your energy pointed inward versus pointed outward. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. So they can do, you guys listening, you can do this with anything, even if it's like, I know we're here to talk about your crushes, but even if it's like something like a parent or a past relationship or a past friend, anything. And I love that came out of, if you realize that you're kind of waiting and anticipating for this guy or person to step up and or be in a certain way that they're not, that it sounds like one of the really powerful steps is to actually call your power back from that situation or person.
Yeah, I love that. There was one more thought I wanted to add to that real quick. And in that moment, like what I'm feeling from like your story around this is I sensed some surrender in that moment, you know, and it's like around surrendering attachment often. Like our guy's not showing up, whether you're like, this happens to me in my relationship. I'm like a happy marriage, you know, and we still get triggered, but there's times when we want our guys to do something or our crushes to do something, and that attachment energy is super emasculating, and it's like putting a kink in the energy of what wants to come to us. Like the divine masculine energy wants to give to us, wants to come to us, but when we're attached or we're in this energy of demanding it energetically, even if we're not verbalizing it, then we can't help but block it. Like it's putting a kink in that flow. And actually the third point that I wanted to talk about here that's just coming through now is, so this can feel kind of contradictory, but both of these things get to exist, where you both surrender attachment to it needing to happen now, it needing to happen in a certain way, him needing to text tonight, him needing to initiate, blah, 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 blah. But also stepping into this energy of uplifting the masculine in him by knowing, like really projecting that he's capable. Which can feel so contradictory. It's like, wait, I'm supposed to detach and be okay with him not showing me that he's maybe not capable, but at the same time, I'm supposed to hold the energy and the vibe that he is. Yes, somehow, yes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's seeing him in his highest, or seeing him in his possibility, which then actually invites him. He feels that trust. He feels that trust that you have, and invites him into it.
Yes.
And this is a practice. And the woman who is in that profound, loving relationship where her man shows up in such a way, she sees him as that. And maybe it wasn't natural for her, and maybe she learned it, or for some women it's natural, right? They had great, certain relationships are great models, and it takes practice. But either way, I think, well, I love the idea, if this is interesting for the people listening, or for some people are like, yeah, and some people are like, that's hard. Try it on as an experiment.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm just going to visualize or see this happening. And you don't even have to, it depends also on the stage of the relationship. So if it's someone that if you're just starting to date, I would say focus on it, but focus on the feeling of that you want to experience more so than this specific person.
Right. Not to get the one
now if you're
one-itis
versus if you're in a relationship, right? If you're in like a committed long-term relationship, you're with a partner, you're in a container, and you're committed, so you're also seeing that possibility in that specific person.
I love that distinction. That's so important. That comes up so often with my ladies. They're like, what if there's one person in particular you want to bring forth and you want to get married to, all this stuff,
or call your ex back?
And I'm like, we're kind of missing it here, because that you could consider that to be actually this attached energy, this energy of attachment. When we're
it's
go ahead.
Manipulation. It's like a manipulation. It's and we all do it. I've manipulated people, of course. I've been manipulated. Like, let's call it.
It's
out.
our inner child. It's
know?
coming from that wounded inner child, which is ultimately innocent. You know, when we do that, it's like it's her. It's coming from like your pure will, not like love and your will to combine. You know.
Yeah.
So like, Go ahead.
What do you think about? And I want to address this too. Oh wait, did you finish all the steps?
The last one was really like, if you are in the stage where you're not in a committed relationship yet, just remembering that there are so many men in this world and not getting hyper fixated and like obsessive about one. And I know you use the term one-itis, and that's like one-itis. Don't get one-itis. It's, you know, so simple. We've heard it so many times, and yet so many women still fall into that trap of just like getting again, it's attachment, getting attached, over investing too soon, and not just in that leaned back, surrendered energy where you're allowing men to show you who they are, and you're just being curious and taking your, like, slowing down and taking your time, knowing there's no rush. You don't have to feel rushed to find your guy and find the one. That energy is really a self-sabotage behavior, because it puts you out of the feminine energy and puts you in your masculine, and that repels the masculine energy that you want. So that was really the final step there.
I love that. And I want to point out something you said in the very beginning, because I can hear people saying like, well, how do I do that? You called it out in the very beginning, where it's like, fill up your own cup, spend time with your girlfriends, live a happy life.
Live a happy life.
Make that a priority. Like, you know, versus waiting or anticipating that you need it from someone or something. So I think that's beautiful and so important. It's so important.
All these things like coexist together. Like these are all really a feminine way of living. So they all kind of fit together and overlap. I feel like these tips we're giving today. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm also one thing that I want to also address is, though, maybe if anyone listening has a pattern of actually continuously going after or liking the person who is not taking action, right? Because I know that the title or the topic for today is, what if you like someone and they're not taking action? How do you get them to step up, right? Or show up? And the really cool thing to distinguish and understand if there's something that's in your energetic field, right? We have this field that goes out 6 feet, right, around us. It's a huge field, and it's our consciousness, right? Our thoughts are actually outside of us. They're swimming.
I love that.
Right? And this is what's co-creating our experience in life. And like Chelsea said, in our relationships are amplified what's here. So a good way to understand if there's some cleaning up or purification that gets to happen is through patterns, right? So if there's a pattern of really falling and wanting to, wanting the guy who is not showing up, that's something that you want to take inquiry around, because sometimes we can be attracted, or let me just give this question. This is really powerful that you could contemplate is, what is having me be attracted to the man who is not showing up? What is, and don't go with the first answer, like really go deep on this question, because getting to the root and really doing the work and the shadow work and having self-inquiry around a pattern like this is going to give you a lot of freedom, a lot of liberation, probably be emotional, but in the best way possible. So I want to, invite and impress that upon people who experience this consistently.
Such a beautiful reminder, and kind of going back to this core theme, I feel like, of all of this is just taking responsibility. And it's not like a self beat up thing. It's really like this freeing feeling of empowerment. Like, whoa, if everything in my field is co-creating, like I have a lot of power to change that, right? Rather than feeling bummed or feeling bad. Like I think some people take that feedback and start to feel guilty about their patterns or shame. And we're like, no, that's not where we're coming from. We all have stuff, and you just get to own it so that you can release it and shift it and see it differently. And there could be a few ways that that's coming up. Like inner child stuff can dictate what we're attracted to, like unresolved patterns from childhood and from our relationship with our parents and our upbringing. And also, another thing that came through around that might be helpful just when you're in that curiosity is sometimes we continuously attract that kind of man because we've had it happen so many times. We want to justify it. Like we want to prove our limitations right because we're pissed. And we haven't fully processed the resentment or the betrayal or the disappointment that we felt from past relationships. So we just keep calling it forth because we're angry. And that's one that could be happening in this space. I've seen it so many times. And again, it's another opportunity to just validate yourself. Like, just because it's happened so
Yeah.
many times doesn't mean it needs to keep happening. And you don't need it to keep happening to validate that your feelings are right, you know? So I don't know if that
Yeah.
I'm clearly explaining that, but that just came through intuitively for the group. So I hope that's making sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the it sounds like making sure that you're resolving and healing and bringing awareness and acceptance and love, so that there can be an opening, so that you can experience what you really want. Because here's the thing, the relationship, the life, it's like available here. It's here and now.
Yeah.
Like, it's nowhere else. So all these things that we're offering is allowing you to be open to that. And then one thing that I also wanted to share, because I wanted to also address the woman who, maybe that's you, maybe, you know, listening, maybe not, but who's like, oh, like, there's this crush at work and I'm really interested, but I don't know if he knows I like him, or, you know, and maybe you're actually kind of shy and you have a tendency of men not asking you out, and maybe there's a little bit of invisible armor or fear of rejection that's happening for you, that they're then perceiving you as unavailable. So we can give you some tips on what to say in that situation, because I had the coolest story yesterday. This girl came up to me, she's like, hey, she was like, one of my friends follows your work, and she was in the cafe with me, and there was this really cute guy, and she was like, and man, she was like, I should go say something, but I'm too shy. And then they left the cafe, and she's like, Rebecca would say something to him. But she would tell me to say something to him. So she rocks back into the cafe, walks back and goes, here's my number if you ever want to hang out. And I was like, yes, I'm like so proud of you, you know? So it was such a sweet story. And I know that takes bravery, right? And that wasn't always so easy for me. Right now, obviously, I'm not doing that. I'm in a relationship, but I get to be brave in other ways, where it looks like really tough conversations with my partner, right? Or making certain requests, or showing up in my, you know, certain ways, and, you know, leading in my business. So for the woman who is, you know, you feel like you don't get asked out often, is most likely some invisible armor, some fear, something that's having you be perceived as closed off or unavailable. So Chelsea and I are here to help you be approachable and be available. So I'd love to give it to you and hear what you would have her do.
I love that so much. One distinction that I want to add to that is, I think a lot of women come to this work and they're like, oh, they create these really rigid black and white rules when they're learning the feminine and masculine energy, right? This is like one of the biggest things we see, where they're like, oh, I can't approach a guy because then I'll be in my masculine. And this is where it's so understandable to make that mistake. It's in the beginning, but deeper than that, it's the energy you're embodying, right? It's not so much even the actions you're taking, so much as the energy you're embodying. So I think, again, before you take any action, on that same note, enter this energy in your body of openness. Like, enter this energy in your body, like set the intention that you're really open for business, which I know sounds like kind of cheesy and like kind of like, I don't mean that in a sexual right, I don't mean that in a sexual way, but it really is, like, I couldn't think of a better expression. Like, you're open for business, but with the clear boundaries.
You're on the market.
Yeah, on the market. Thank you. Business market, similar vibe, but yeah. So like when you go into that energy, you're creating, I talk a lot about like boundaries and like the queen energy, and so you're not just opening to anything, you're being really clear, getting really clear and embodied in yourself around like, what are you opening to? I'm opening to high quality men, I'm opening to eyes on me, I'm opening to being witnessed and appreciated in my feminine energy, right? And so stepping into that intention and energy of openness is the first thing. And then I love that example of like letting a guy know that you're interested. I feel like you can really do that with just eye contact sometimes. And also things might start to happen immediately as you just make that energetic shift that I talked about. I would say listen to your intuition. Like, imagine us in your ear. Like, if you feel called, because it's hard to give advice without knowing the details of all of your situations. Like, maybe you have worked with a coworker for years and you do need to, like, you feel the intuitive feeling, like you do need to make it really clear because you've had so many years of relating to him in a way where you were close. You do get to make it really abundantly clear. And maybe that's, you invite him, you know, like similar similar thing you just gave example of, like, you say, you know, I'd love to get coffee. If you ever want to get coffee sometime, I love that. Or like, do you still blah, blah, blah? Like, I've been getting into that too. Like, if you ever want to hike together or climb together or whatever, like nature-y people examples here, right? Nature adventure examples, hiking, climbing. Where's this coming from? Any hobby is fine.
You want to swim with dolphins?
Right. Any hobby
Yeah.
works here. But yeah, so with someone that's been in your life for a long time and you've like had that way of relating where you've been closed off, then it feels pretty clear that you would get to verbally say something and make an invitation, and just know that you're not being in your masculine energy when you do that. You're actually being an open, warm invitation. That's the feminine, and that's going to inspire him, right? To want to like move towards you and take it from there. So that's that. I think that's everything I was going to say on that.
Good. I think it's perfect that you led with intention in what is your intention prior to saying anything, because the intention and the energy behind it will say it all.
Exactly. And you'll be pulled from the inside out around like what to say exactly and how to do it from the place of intention. Yeah.
Yes. When students will ask me, you know, what is it? What do I say? How do I handle this? And I'm always like, okay, listen, we'll get to that point. But first of all, let's look at what is your intention in this, because then if you forget what to say, like it's more about, it'll be natural because it comes from your heart. So in this scenario, you know, I'm all about being brave and literally putting it at his feet, like letting him know you are into him, right? Like eye contact, open body language, winking, like don't be afraid to touch his forearm, like show that you're interested, and you can share things. Like we did have one girl who she was interested in a guy at work, and I was like, but he was also a client because she was in some, I don't know exactly what she did, and I challenged her. I'm like, you're gonna call him and you're gonna say that you would love to go out with a guy like him. She was so mad at that. She was like, I do not want to do that. She like literally, it was so funny. She was like, what she wanted to do, she was like literally wanted to throw up. She was like, oh, she wanted to throw up. She's like, hey, but so she did it. She got on the phone. She didn't say, I'd love to go out with a guy like you. She sugarcoated it, but she pushed herself out of her comfort zone. Like even calling him, she's like, I was so nervous, I was talking away, like, but she stretched herself, and I think it's so important that you guys do that and let it be messy. It does not need to be perfect. Just your willingness to stretch out into that flirtatious, open, available zone is perfect. It doesn't matter how it looks. Just your willingness to do that is a step in the right direction.
I love that.
So I want to emphasize that. And then saying things like, I would love to go out with a man like you, giving him your number on a piece of paper, like just, you know, because if he's interested, he will follow up on it, right? And if he's not, he won't. And be willing to be with either. And it's not going to dictate whether you have your dream relationship or not, right?
Getting to be
and then also, when you say I would love to go out with a guy like you, or whatever when you say that, linger there. Don't scurry off. Don't try and fill the space. Just linger there and create the space for him to then ask you out if he's going to. So I know that a lot of times people want to like or whatever. Like just stay there, because it's you being open, and it can feel so vulnerable. I get it. So we both get it, and that's why we're here to the brave movement. That's why we're here inviting you to be brave. Both, you know, Chelsea and I, and we're supporting you in that. We've had tons of moments where we had to be brave, and I'm thinking back to your challenge in the grocery store.
Oh my God. I was so bad. I'm so bad at things like that. Slightly different. I was really good at flirting. Like I totally made the first move.
Wait, can you please tell them the story?
Are you talking about, are we allowed to give details? No. Yeah, we are. I had to, so like when in ALA, so the program that Rebecca and I met in, you were such a champ at this, because Rebecca loves, that's why this is her thing, the brave stuff. I hate situations that are really awkward, especially talking to strangers. So, but when it came to flirting, when it came to like guys that I was interested in, it was really easy for me to be like, I'm going to seduce you with my energy right now. But with this, I had to like, I was given the challenge to have like a little clipboard and like go into a grocery store and hang out in the cheese section and basically be like, hey, I'm collecting like signatures to lower the price of cheese that has holes in it because it weighs less.
You give me a petition. You said it was Swiss cheese.
Swiss
you
cheese.
Had to, yeah,
that's what it was.
You thought it should cost less because there was holes in it.
I freaking hated it. And Rebecca kind of let me off the hook. I was supposed to get like 50 signatures or something. And when people would, but now what I realize now is that, oh, this is so good. I'm connecting it to how I can support you guys with this. Yeah. That was years ago, right? Like we really were babies and early on in our journeys with this stuff. And I've realized in many ways that I have had a challenge in not taking things personally. And when we take things personally, we're basically crippled in life. And it's going to be extreme. It's going to feel impossible to do what we're asking you guys to do if you take everything personally. And if you take like you take it as rejection when a guy doesn't call you or doesn't like immediately be like, oh, so how about tonight, right? And that's where it takes like a lot of confidence and a deep sense of self-worth in yourself to put yourself out there and know that someone's response to you has everything to do about them and nothing to do about you is one perspective that's really helpful. Because what happened for me in that challenge is it was so hard because I didn't yet have the awareness that I took everything personally. So when someone was like, but it's priced by the ounce or whatever already, I would be like, oh my God, they think I'm so stupid. I hate being stupid. Like that's literally was my thing. I was like, I couldn't just be in the face of someone judging me. Right. Yeah. And so it's like so funny, but I'm just getting this download now, like why that was so hard for me. So that's the kind of armor that would be good to put on, like the armor around you of like shit bounces off of me. If someone's going to project something negative, like it's not mine. I'm not here for that. Like and I'm going back to, I love that you said, he might like call you or ask you out, or he might not, but none of that affects your ultimate vision that you get to have for your love life. Like that's what you get to be so locked into. You get to be so grounded and create that faith. Like that building faith is something you practice. So that gets to be a part of your daily practices. Is that just really growing your faith in what you get to have ultimately, so that you can go in with the healthy kind of armor into situations like that, where you just can have fun and like be detached and enjoy the feeling of aliveness that comes. And that's what I feel like you love about that too. That comes from like living on the edge like that and putting yourself into those situations is you're truly living when you do things like that, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's like literally when you put yourself out there. So I love that we're like ending with this because this is perfect. So maybe it's talking to a guy and then giving him your number, or maybe that's actually comfortable for you and it's something else. Maybe it's being vulnerable, but we expand into doing something that's uncomfortable. Like for Chelsea at the time, it was the Swiss cheese thing, right? And sure, it's something different now, because we're always growing and there's always something. But when we face it head on and we're like, okay, I'm not going to avoid this, even though I'm terrified, it's like what's happening is I believe we are literally healing trauma. We're healing, and it doesn't have to just be from this lifetime. It can be from other lifetime, because when you come to life and you're expressive and you're expansive and you're connected to people around you, you have to heal and move through those things. Like you can't not. So that's why I love inviting people and saying for people and just to do things that are that take bravery, because in those moments it's literally like a whole new world's going to open up for you, and the only person that can do that is you.
Chills.
And one more thing. Flirting, dating, it's all a faith walk. So it's so perfect that Chelsea's talking about faith, because the thing is, you guys, it's a faith walk. Like it's totally a faith walk, So, you're dating these people, you're flirting, you're putting yourself out there, you're being open, you're opening your heart, but all with the faith that you're going to create a loving partnership. Granted, you're also building a life that you're experiencing a life that you love, and you're choosing to trust and have faith that, okay, cool, I'm going to meet this amazing person to do this with. So it's a total faith walk. So
I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like don't like ground into your faith before you go into
Yeah.
this. Like that would be a good like self pep talk moment, is like, I know I get to I know the fact that I want this means that God / life / the universe wants it for me. I'm feeling called to take this action step. I'm going to take it because it's my job to do my part, right? God, the universe,
Yeah.
life can only do so much without our participation. It really is a co-creation. So when we feel like we want to reach out to, or like we want to like make ourselves available to a guy and we don't do it, we can't go on and like complain that things aren't happening the way we want them to, because
Yeah.
that's the agreement here, is like God and the universe is going to pull all the strings, set everything up, but then you get to come forth and like step through that threshold of fear into the bravery that we're talking about, to be in alignment with the vision that you have.
Wow, baby. Oh,
I was like, yes,
so
I'm so like sourcing this from your energy too right now, because it's so you as well, you know. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm excited to hear, you know, everyone in their experience. So make sure you guys that you as you are doing this, feel free if you want to come share your courageous, brave acts that you take in your dating life, in your love life. Maybe it's journaling, or maybe it's a forgiveness letter, or maybe it's, you know, dressing up and going smiling at men, right? Whatever it is, we're here to support you in that. Please come celebrate with us. Chelsea and I would love to celebrate you. We're here to support you. You know, you don't have to do this alone. Of course you can, but you do not have to. So we're here to help you in the journey, and come in the group, ask questions, share your challenges. We want to support you through every step of the way. And I'm so grateful, Chelsea, to call you a best friend and a beautiful soul sister, and to have your wisdom and your love that you've given to me so many times, you guys. Chelsea's seen me in the most
beautiful, raw, vulnerable state.
Yeah, like I remember I would share one thing, and then Chelsea will ask me a question, and she'll hit home right away, and I'm like in public, like in the best way, like necessary, like, you know, like you caught a pimple that needed to be popped, and I'm like, oh, I feel so much lighter, so much more room, so much more space I can take up. So thank you so much.
Thank you, babe, for those kind words. I'm like such a my love language is words of affirmation, you know. So thank you for that, and ditto in every way. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in here and share with your amazing women. I love this space, and I love the women that you attract in all of this work. So thanks for letting me hang out with you guys and support you.
Amazing.
Cool.
Love you so much.
You.
And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the Facebook group.
Okay, cool.
And on Instagram and YouTube.
All the places.
Yeah.
Love you.
Email.
Love you.
Bye, guys.